Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Jens Patteeuw and I'm doing a new show called The Freedom Frequency. And I'm seeing there's already a little bit of people in the chat. So hi Tim Pruitt is there. Hi Tim. I'm seeing Diane Ross is also there. Love the name Freedom Frequency. Yeah, I like the name. It's because this show is going to be about freedom, about conspiracy, of course, because conspiracy is the antithesis of freedom. It's also going to be about spirituality because I like always, as you guys who are the ones who already probably know me, people who follow me, is I like to combine spirituality and conspiracy together. So I'm always looking at it from a conspiracy angle, and I also look at it from a spiritual perspective, and I'm also going to do that in this show. So so hi Katie. Where's everybody from? So I want to because I know some of you guys are probably from the US or Canada, and it's right 5 p.m. here in Belgium right now. We're in Europe, so we're in European time. So I guess it's like 11 a.m. in the morning in Canada and the US. So I'm quite curious where you guys watching from? Oh, from Oklahoma. Wow. So I guess you're on Mountain Time Zone. So I guess for you it's like even earlier. If I am correct. Katie Cat says New York Shore and USA. I just love to see where you guys are from. Wolfmother says USA. Yeah, that's cool. From California. Well, so that's like must be like a 9-hour difference. So it's pretty early in the morning in California, I guess, because the more west you are, the bigger the difference is. Of course, I still believe we're living on a. I believe we're living on a sphere. Maybe I'll do a show in the future on flat Earth. That would be quite interesting. I'm open to all kinds of things, but that's for another show. And also somebody from Belgium. Hi, Christine. So let's get started. The title of the show is the Trump and Starmer, so the USA and UK AI deal. And it got kind of lost. For me, it's a big thing. It's a huge thing, and I'm going to go deeper into it. And it got kind of lost in all the static and all the recent events that were happening, especially with Charlie Kirk. It kind of overshadowed all the other news. Also, the huge announcement they did on autism, RFK, and Dr. Oz and Trump. I'm also going to talk about that in the second part of the show, but first I'm going to talk about the huge AI. They call it the tech prosperity deal between RFK and Trump. And as you know me, people who follow me know that I'm always critical. I try to be open-minded, but I'm also critical of news that gets like kind of overshadowed a little bit, because this is a huge deal. And I want to bring it a little bit more to the front and talk about it a little bit more. So it's this thing here. I'm going to bring it up. So this was in the news a few days ago. So I'm going to enlarge it a bit. So US firms pledge 150 billion investment in UK as tech deal signed. So this is the US UK prosperity deal, and here is Trump and Starmer signing it both. And I'm very skeptical of this and let me give some introduction around this. So, when Trump came in 2016, I've never been a fan of any president, and people were saying like he pushes freedom, and I was like, okay, let's see, because I've been in the conspiracy field for, I guess, like 22 years now, 21 years, I shall say 21 years. I woke up in 2004. And I got my training in those years, so to speak. I read a lot of conspiracy books. Back in the day, there was even no social media. And back in the day, we knew that both Democrats and Republicans were two wings of the same bird. It was like not even a question in the conspiracy community. In the conspiracy community, we knew both Republicans and Democrats, they were two wings of the same bird. So when Trump came in 2016, and people started this saying, Trump is gonna change it and be for freedom, I'm open to that, but I need some evidence. I need to see some evidence of that. And okay, he did his thing. I was never really interested in Trump. Then he became president again, and a little bit later, so that that freedom movement sprung up again. But in my mind, there's always that, like, how can you become president of a Republican Party if you're not somehow, subservient to the agenda? And you need to look at somebody. You need to look at what are they pushing. Are they pushing? Okay, they can, for example, do some good things on the side. I'm not denying that some good things can be done, or that some positive developments can come from some administrations. I'm not denying that, but I'm always looking. What are the main points of the agenda, right? What are the main points of the elites behind the scenes? And one of the main points of the elites behind the scenes is transhumanism, is pushing AI, is the digital control grid. So if I see an administration, maybe doing some good things on the side, and if Trump and RFK do some good things, I'm definitely going to mention that. But if I see them pushing the big points of the agenda, I'm like, okay, what really changed here, right? And one of the big points that I see the Trump administration pushing is the AI agenda. There is simply no way around it, and that makes me very, very skeptical. Um, it's let me say how chronologically for me it went. So when I'm gonna close this for a second. So when he started his second term, and he promised before he got in and before the assassination attempt on Trump, he started siding with Elon Musk. Now I never trusted Elon Musk, so for me that was already a huge red flag. And then he started taking JD Vance as his vice president, and JD Vance, as most people probably know by now, is hugely sponsored by Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is member of the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group. Now, you can tell me what you want, but the Bilderberg Group, that's that elite level that wants to steer humanity towards that AI dystopia. So, then when I saw, JD Vance, an unknown senator, we have to say, like, he was not really known, right? Nobody knew him till he sided with Trump, unless you were like from his state or something. And I saw JD Vance being pushed forwards. I was even more skeptical, right? Because the single largest donation ever to a senator was from Peter Thiel to JD Vance. He basically made his career. He really promoted him. And actually, Bill Gates was also already promoting JD Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, in 2017, when he was a nobody. So Bill Gates was even promoting JD Vance's book. So these are all things that don't sit too well with me. So on the front of AI, I see the Trump administration really pushing that AI, and I saw the signs when I saw it a year ago now in August, him bringing in JD Vance, him bringing in Elon Musk. Okay, they had a falling out, but they seem to be buddies again. My prediction was, they're going to push the AI agenda because I saw it coming from a mile away, and it seems to be the case now. I mean, let me remember you, he brought on day 2 of his presidency, he brought forward Larry Ellison, who is a Big Brother advocate, basically. He literally said that. The Larry Ellison, a big tech player from Oracle, and he's going to buy TikTok now to moderate TikTok in the US. He brought all these guys, and Larry Ellison and Sam Altman from OpenAI, also a tech bro, like Zuckerberg, and suddenly Zuckerberg was also siding with Trump. He suddenly flipped. He was for Biden, suddenly flipped to Trump. Of course, they're always going to flip to the ones who are in power, right? But they are part of the power, actually. So, he's really surrounded by all these AI people, promoting mRNA cancer vaccines that are created by AI on day 2 of his presidency. I mean, so that's what really caught my eye, is that big AI agenda point. And now with this deal between, Starmer and between the UK and the US, and I'm going to go over some points for this to really to really solidify it for you guys. Then let me look at the comments here for a moment if I see some interesting comments. There's a lot more people coming on from New Jersey. Hi, Linda. So anyway, let's go over some of the points of this deal here. So the UK government says it has secured 150 billion worth of US investment, right? So, and this tech prosperity deal is headed by companies like Microsoft. So that says it all. Like, Microsoft is one of the biggest donors here. Microsoft has pledged to spend 22 billion in the UK over the next 4 years, while Google is to invest 5 billion over the next 2 years and to expand an existing data center. So they're creating new data centers, which is basically necessary for the digital control infrastructure that these tech, because these tech, like Microsoft from Bill Gates, I mean, he's not CEO anymore, but these people are totally, part of the agenda, right? So, and Starmer also has pushed for the digital ID. So the digital ID in the UK is going to go forward. Let me let so the digital ID is going to go forward in the UK. And of course, when you have a digital ID, all these systems need to be integrated together to make your digital ID work. That's why they need data centers. So basically, this with money from the US, they're going to enable the control grid in the UK. So this is basically, these tech companies investing in the UK to make, the control grid, the digital ID possible. Because Starmer has said it, we're going to do digital ID. And it's in every country. It came in Belgium, the European digital identity. Even the US has what I could call a precursor to the digital ID called the Real ID. The Trump administration launched the Real ID. And the Real ID was a relic from the Bush administration. And it has been fought heavily by freedom activists and by privacy advocate groups because it's so dystopian. So it was launched after 9/11, in the wake of 9/11, the Real ID. And in the US there's a real tradition of freedom, and they didn't want a Real ID. And now the Trump administration pushed through this Real ID. You can look it up. I mean, I did past shows on the Real ID, going really in depth on it. And the Real ID basically is for Americans who don't have a passport who want to fly. So now they're making this Real ID mandatory for example, for driver's licenses in some cases, and to be able to fly. So you have to have some form of legal document now, like a Real ID or a passport to fly in the United States. And of course, it's not a digital ID yet, but I show documents in past shows. I'm not going to repeat myself again, otherwise it would become too long. That authorities in the United States talk about that this Real ID can be a precursor to a digital ID. So although the USA is not as far ahead as implementing a digital ID as in the UK, the Real ID, this is already a first step. So I'm observing this with a very skeptical mind, because you know how this goes, right? First it's a Real ID, and then it becomes a digital ID, and that's the way they did it in my country, in Europe or in Belgium. Because at first it was, you have to give your thumbprint for a driver license, and now you're going to go to full digital. So it seems that the same agenda is being rolled out here. Same agenda is being rolled out here. So we got that. That's why I remain skeptical. I am open to people doing good things, and I know not everybody in government is bad. But if I see an administration pushing these big points of an agenda, collaborating with Microsoft, so Microsoft was one of the ones in this tech prosperity deal. Another company in this tech prosperity deal is BlackRock. Now, BlackRock is owned by Larry Fink. Now, Larry Fink, BlackRock is one of the richest companies in the world. They have more money than like 130 of, there's 200 countries on Earth. They have more money than 130 of the lowest ranking countries combined. They have almost as much money, I think, or more money than like in GDP than the US. So it's absolutely crazy. So Larry Fink, very powerful person. Now, BlackRock is involved in this deal. Now, Larry Fink, who heads BlackRock, has just become the successor of Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum. Larry Fink is the new CEO of the World Economic Forum. Now, the World Economic Forum, the WEF, as we call it, is, it's one of these organizations that push the agenda. And Larry Fink has actually become pretty close to Trump, because he did a deal with them for the Panama Canal. I also talked about that in previous shows. You can look it up. This is based in fact what I'm saying here. So basically, one of Trump's inner circle, Larry Fink, who owns BlackRock, who is part of this deal, is now head of the World Economic Forum, who also pushes this AI dystopia agenda. I mean, I follow the evidence. I don't want to bash the Trump administration unnecessarily or unneedly. I'm following the evidence, and it doesn't look good to me, to be honest, because this is the main transhumanist agenda. Larry Fink is CEO of the WEF. Yeah, Barno, yes, it is. It is, and this is also news that, in the alternative media and annex, it doesn't get spoken about enough. It just it gets brushed aside. When Biden did something bad, the alternative media jumped on it, like, oh, Biden this and that. When Trump does it, much less so, because a lot of the alternative media is pro-Trump. But I think we should look at anybody in a position of government, a position of power, with the same skepticism and the same, have your discernment meter working. Have your discernment meter working. So that's really important. So let me look a little bit further here if there's anything else interesting here. Also, AstraZeneca is involved. The vaccine manufacturer. So Palantir here also. Palantir is to invest up to 1.5 billion in UK defense innovation. So 1.5 billion from Palantir. Now Palantir is the company founded by Peter Thiel, whom I mentioned in the beginning. Peter Thiel, who is the protege of J.D. Vance. Peter Thiel, head of the Bilderberg. Again, it's all a confluence of these big tech companies. Palantir is basically, a lot of people who worked for Palantir have come out and spoke how Palantir is spying on Americans. I mean, Trump just created a digital health tracking database where, with Microsoft and again the big tech companies, again helping build this control grid, this digital control grid, step by step. It's in the news. It's based on facts. What I'm saying here. So it's not a positive evolution, and this news was way too, this tech prosperity deal, it was way too under, it was overshadowed by all the other news. So I'm not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of this at all. And another thing is what I'm seeing is like the left, with Biden we had basically the left, right, the Democrats, and now with Trump we have the right. And honestly, for me personally, I lean more towards the right because the left has gone crazy these days, right? Because with the whole woke and like the trans movement, and I mean I love trans people. Anybody can be anything they want. If you want to be like, if you feel like you're a man or a woman, I don't have any issues with that. But of course they're pushing it on kids, and that's a whole other story. I've talked about that a lot too. But now, of course, people react to that naturally. Don't push trans on our kids or push like these crazy things on our kids. But the left says, the left was really into hate speech. We can't have hate speech against lesbians and gays. And actually, they wanted to sue people for, having hate speech. But now the Trump administration is basically doing the same because you can't criticize Israel. And Pam Bondi has been saying, we don't want hate speech. And if you do hate speech, we're going to come after you. But that's exactly what the left did. And now the right, the Trump administration, Pam Bondi is doing it. So let me play that clip here of Candace Owens where she really criticizes that. So let me play a clip here of Candace Owens who talks about, they're being, the left of Biden was like that, and now Trump administration is also becoming like that. So let me play this clip here of Candace Owens where she talks about that.
Who is a complete loser and a tool, is trying to use the assassination of Charlie Kirk to lay the groundwork for hate speech laws in America. The very thing that Charlie was fighting against. They all just got right to work trying to pass laws. Well, Charlie Kirk is actually, now we got to, hate speech is something. Exactly what he's messaging me about that he doesn't want to happen. They're trying to use his death to justify. Listen to what Pam Bondi said to Katie Miller on her podcast. Take a listen.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech.
No.
And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
So to be clear, that's the feds telling you that they want to pass speech laws, which will basically just give them the full power to go after you for wrongthink, okay? And they're doing it in the most disturbing way ever by going after Charlie Kirk's legacy and using his assassination to say, oh, well, now we've got to get hate speech done.
So I fully agree with Candace here. So Pam Bondi is like, this is what the left used to do. These hate speech laws, what they were trying to do about, trans, and now they're trying to do it in relationship to like Israel and stuff like that. Like the government can basically come after you and lock you up for something you say, for something they designate as hate speech. This is a very slippery slope. And even Alex Jones came out against Pam Bondi. It says Pam Bondi is compromised. But, she's still part of the Trump administration, so we got to be very skeptical about this. So I'm seeing the Trump administration kind of turn into what their opponents were a little bit, but then with the different flavor on the AI transhumanism field and Israel. So also in relationship to the AI push is Melania has recently come out with a video stating that she wants to teach AI to kids. Now I'm going to play you that clip of Melania where she talks about it, and then commenting on it. So this is Melania saying how she's gonna, head a task force teaching artificial intelligence to kids.
Cars now steer themselves through our cities. Robots hold steady hands in the operating room. And drones are redefining the future of war. Innovations of first-generation humanoids, factory automation, and autonomous vehicles have surged from private sector investment. Every one of these advancements is powered by AI. The robots are here. Our future is no longer science fiction.
She says the robots are here, which is basically, the transhumanist part of the transhumanist plan also. Now, the program she's heading is called, and I'm going to read it here from my notes, Advancing Artificial Intelligence Education for American Youth Task Force. And it's co-headed by, if you just think, it's just, it's teaching kids AI so they, they won't be left behind. Well, it's also co-headed by Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman from OpenAI, and Sundar Pichai from Google. So these big tech companies, which are transhumanists, no doubt, are behind this. This is teaching transhumanism to kids because, of course, they want to get the kids, right? And she also mentions the term first-generation humanoids, which is kind of interesting because we all know I feel that the plan of transhumanism is also to create, they show it in Hollywood movies, to create cyborgs and basically, first-generation humanoids, like thinking robots and stuff like that. Now, what is interesting is that Trump and Melania visited the Dutch king and queen, I think like a month or 2 months ago, and they even slept at their castle. Now, Queen Maxima of the Netherlands has done exactly the same thing in the Netherlands, also teaching AI to the Dutch kids in school, to very young Dutch kids. So it's kind of interesting that after they went there, Melania is now doing the same as Maxima, the Queen of the Netherlands, and I'm going to show you guys here. So after this visit, suddenly these two wives, wife of Trump and wife of the Dutch king, so Maxima, are teaching, AI to kids, and I'm going to show it to you here. So and it's in Dutch, but I'll translate it for you. So this is a curriculum that is taught to young Dutch children as part of teaching AI, and this program was launched by Queen Maxima of the Netherlands. So let me show you here. So for the people who don't know Dutch, I'm going to translate it for you. So this is statements that these kids in school learn now. So I'm going to translate. In 15 years, all babies will be chipped immediately after birth. The government sees this as necessary. As a parent, you could always see where your kid is. So your kid will never go missing. Without a chip, you don't have to count on the cooperation of the police. You just have become a father or a mother. What are you doing? This is insane. This is launched by the Queen of the Netherlands. Here, another one. In 20 years, wireless chip cards are a thing of the past. If you want to travel with public transportation, you have to have a chip in your arm. If you don't want this, you cannot use the train, the tram, the metro, or the bus. What do? This is indoctrinating children to, the future adults to put chips in their bodies. This is launched by the Dutch royal family. This is taught to kids in school now in the Netherlands. And it seems like Melania is going to do the same for American kids. With Google involved and Zuckerberg involved. So here, another one from the same course. So this is her. This is Melania, Maxima. I'm sorry. This is the Dutch queen launching this. So you see her in front of a class, launching this course. National AI, it says here in small letters, National AI course for kids. The same thing as in the USA. So, I'm not seeing good things here. I'm not seeing good things here. This is brainwashing our kids. So yeah, we need to be very, very skeptical of this. So this concludes the first section of the show. So before I go on to the second section, where I'm going to talk about the huge announcements Trump and RFK made about autism, I will present to you my course. So I have a new course out, and I've seen somebody in the comments saying here. Let me bring it up if I can. Where to start comments? I don't see it here. Okay, so wait, just guys, I'm just gonna go over the comments here. It's live, it's unscripted, and I saw somebody giving a really good comment. So let me just bring it up quickly. It's live, so just bear with me here. I have to read it fast. Anyway, I can't find it anymore. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. Anyway, but the comment said that it's really important in these days to, especially as a person who is awake, who is confronted with negative information, is to take care of our vibration, is to take care of our own. We cannot go through these times without taking care of our own vibration, of our own spiritual health, I would say. And that's why I created a course to actually help people with that. So it's this course. It's the link is available in the description. So this is actually a first, because this is my launch. I've never come out with this course, so this is a first on the show. I'm going to bring it up for you guys here, so you can get to the link in the description. So this is a course that really is jam-packed with all kinds of meditations, all kinds of concepts about spirituality, tools I have personally used for over 15 years, tools that really work to raise your vibration, to get into that happier space. Because I saw somebody saying in the comments, and I don't know who it is, so let me know in the comments if you're the person, that we have to take care of our spirituality. We, as conspiracy theorists, we see a lot of negative news, and we have to offset this with working on our frequency and connecting with the lighter energies of love and light. And this program is teaching you all. And I'm actually doing a discount for my followers. So here it says you get 33% off. It's $197, but you can, with the code 14 days. So I'm going to post it in the comments here. With this code, you can get an extra $74 off. So you can get actually 50% off. The price comes to $150. So this is a special discount code you can use. So I'm just going to show it to you guys. So if you go to the checkout here, and you just here enter in the coupon code. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So I don't want you to miss the discount if you're interested. So here, if you put in 14-day and then you apply the discount, see, then the price goes down to 50%. So the original price was $299, goes down to $150. So if you're interested, check it out. You can click the link. It's got a whole video that goes with it, and you can see here, a sneak peek of the whole program. It's 14 days. But you can see a sneak peek of the whole program of the first 7 days. So if you're interested, check that out. Okay, so let's move on to the second part of the show. So the huge announcement they made about autism. Now, again, I'm going to be a little bit skeptical because I saw good things, and to be honest, like I said, any good that comes from any administration, I will take. If there comes something good from a Biden administration, I would take it. So any news that pushes us slightly in a good direction, I'm really happy about. But I also think we need to be we need to keep our street smart. We need to be very skeptical. And I see Katie saying, yes, it was you, Katie. Yes, we could all use higher vibes and love in these days. That's it. That's what I was looking. Yes, we can use the higher vibes of love and light. So that's why it's important to have regular spiritual practice. And this helps you with that. Anyway, so what I liked is that it's a step in a good direction that a president of the United States, in his speech, links or talks about autism and vaccines in the same speech. That's really a first, and that's really good in my opinion. So I'm not denying that some positives can come from this, right? Because it creates public awareness. So I think that's really good. What I, however, don't like that much is that a lot of the blame is placed on Tylenol, which is just one, of the many probably pharmaceuticals that are not that good for you, because natural products versus pharmaceuticals, you know which one is better, right? And Tylenol actually has gotten the blame. It seems, I just have a feeling that Tylenol is chosen because it's just easy to blame, because Tylenol has, in Europe we call it paracetamol, and Tylenol has been blamed for so many things. It's like just like an easy product to blame, Tylenol, because even in the 80s there were like issues with Tylenol, and you had the Tylenol murders. There's like a documentary on Netflix now talking about, I'll bring it up here, talking about the Tylenol murders. So in the 80s, people were dying from Tylenol. There was like Tylenol was being poisoned, and they still haven't figured out who did it. So, and then people stopped taking Tylenol, and there were, a lot of bad, also in the 90s and stuff. So Tylenol has been getting a bad rap for decades. I mean, here, this is from 1982 here. So in 1982, people stopped taking Tylenol because there were Tylenol murders. There was like poison in Tylenol. Here, Chicago Tylenol murders, and it was a huge thing in the USA. And now Tylenol gets blamed again. So it seems to me that it's just like a little bit too easy of a, of a victim to blame, right? So what with the vaccines, what Trump said is, and that's the part I really didn't like, is he said, spread your vaccines out. So he didn't say, he really blamed, he said, don't take Tylenol, don't take Tylenol. He repeated that multiple times. I mean, I watched it live. But he didn't say, don't take your vaccines. He said, spread them out. He said, it's not good for a baby to be injected with all these vaccines at once, to which I agree with, 100%. But then he said, spread them out, right? He said, they'll go 4 or 5 times. And that's the part I don't like, because now they're saying you're going to do studies and stuff like that, but there are studies actually, and then he said, take your MMR vaccine, not together, but separately, and don't take it together with Tylenol. And I agree that's probably true, because, studies have shown that taking Tylenol with vaccines, as people mostly do because they have a headache from a vaccine, and then they take Tylenol to lower the headache, and it creates more damage combining it. So I do agree that is true, but I don't agree to him saying, okay, spread them out over 4. It needs to be studied more. We need to apply because this is what RFK was saying. RFK was saying vaccines, there is a link between vaccines and autism, and now they're like toning down a little bit, which I don't like. And some people may say, okay, we have to take baby steps here, but honestly, I'm a little bit done with the baby steps. This is people's lives. And we're on YouTube here. I'm not going to go as deep in it about, the mRNA vaccinations, but what has that done, right? It's no time to pussyfoot around here. This is people's lives. This is our children's health. It's not a time to take baby steps. It's time for the truth. It's been long enough. It's been long overdue, right? So Wolfmother says Tylenol is the go-to medication in all hospitals. I didn't know that, actually. I worked in the ICU for years. Wow, interesting. Interesting job that must have been. That's a very stressful job, right, Wolfmother? I have a lot of respect for nurses, actually, because, the stress they have to deal with. And even I have respect for the police, too, because they also deal with a lot of stress. Yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, let me bring that up here. So, and there's all these people on Twitter saying President Trump is standing up to big pharma. Well, yes and no, because he's still recommending the vaccines, but like to spread them out. And there was a study by Dr. Andrew Wakefield, who has been, of course, attacked voraciously by the pharmaceutical industry. A study in the 90s from Dr. Andrew Wakefield that linked MMR vaccines to autism. And of course, this study has been tracked, like here, for example, here. This is from 2010. The Lancet retracts a 12-year-old article linking autism to MMR vaccines. So, okay, Trump is saying don't take them all at once, but even if he says take your MMR separately, what if these vaccines separately still cause autism, right? So it's not enough for me, because if you have this one unit and then you spread it out into 4 or 5 doses, like Trump said. Do the studies before you say that. Do the studies that prove that these 4 doses would be totally harmless before you say something like that. So I'm not totally happy with this. I hope you understand where I'm going with this, right? It's not enough to say, okay, it probably will help you, right? Not shooting up babies with 5 or 10 or 16 different vaccines at once. I believe there will be a positive from it, but will it stop autism, or will it stop autism totally? Because the autism was almost non-existent 70 years ago. I mean, there was autism, of course. There's always gonna be, but if now it's 1 in 10, right? Like they say, and it used to be 1 in 10,000. Now it's like 1 in 12 boys. So do the research before you say something. And Diane Ross says, doesn't Tylenol cause liver? Exactly. It's very hard on the liver because it's a toxic substance, and your liver needs to detox it out of your system. So I don't like to take painkillers. I almost never take them. Once I took them because I had like teeth removed, and the pain was I was like very like I'm not gonna take painkillers, but it was so crazy. That's maybe the one time in my life I took them. The pain was so intense that I was happy to take them. I didn't even know it was Tylenol, but anyway. So yeah, so I'm not totally happy. It's I can see the positives from it, raising awareness, but still, he says spread them out and still take them. He literally said vaccines are good and spread them out over 4, but it's not good to. So it's like a little bit double here. So on one hand, you're saying it's really bad to load them up all at once, but then you're saying spread it out. So not happy about this. Not happy about this. And we also got to know that the head of the CDC, the Center of Disease Control, who does these recommendations, is Jim O'Neill. So Jim O'Neill was the deputy secretary of HHS, and now he's become the head of the CDC. And Jim O'Neill is a person that worked for Peter Thiel, and he's very pro-vaccine. Also, so Jim O'Neill is part of the Trump administration. Jim O'Neill worked for two of Peter Thiel's funds. Peter Thiel, who I mentioned, who promoted J.D. Vance, Clarion Capital, and Mitchell Capital. So he's very close to and he co-founded the Peter Thiel's Foundation, the Thiel Fellowship. He worked as CEO for the Thiel Fellowship from 2009 to 2012. And I'm going to play this clip here where he says that he's very pro-vaccination. So this is the head of the CDC, part of the Trump administration, saying this.
Thank you for the question, Senator. As you know, I'm an advisor to a vaccine company. I'm very much in favor of vaccines. I think vaccines are one of the greatest public health interventions in human history. They've saved millions of lives. They will continue to save millions of lives.
So, again, a very pro-vaccine guy in the administration, head of the CDC. So why is he moved there? Because he is connected to Peter Thiel, of course, right? And I'm going to show you guys something very interesting I noticed. So I'm going to go to the Wikipedia page of this guy, Jim O'Neill. I'm not seeing it here, so let me quickly go towards it. I thought I loaded it up. So Jim O'Neill. This is it. This is where I thought I loaded it up. It seems to be gone. Anyway, so let me show you here the Wikipedia page of Jim O'Neill. Right, so I'm going to load it up. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So here they say, so watch this. So here they say, he was in his history, he was subsequently a managing director at Clarion Capital and Mitchell Capital. But see how there is no mention of Peter Thiel here? See, in this whole section, you can look it up, there is no mention of Peter Thiel. But if we go to the history, and we go back, maybe just 2 months, you can do that on Wikipedia. And we look here. Here it says, he served during the Bush administration. He co-founded Peter Thiel's Fellowship. And here again, O'Neill acted as the CEO of the... So he's very involved with Peter Thiel. 2 months ago, this showed it. And now it's been scrubbed off of Wikipedia. So all references to Peter Thiel, all direct references to Peter Thiel, have been scrubbed from his Wikipedia page. Now, why do you think that is? Because they're getting too much heat. Because people are onto it. People are onto it. That there's this Peter Thiel, Sam Altman, Larry Ellison, this huge big tech transhumanist AI influence on the Trump administration. And I don't care if you believe in white hats or if you don't believe in white hats. The facts are there. There is too much of this AI Big Brother involvement in the Trump administration. And it's one of the big points of the agenda, AI and transhumanism. So that's it. I'm at the end of the show. Let me see if there's any more comments or questions I can answer. So we gotta remain very discerning, very discerning. You really think like Facebook and Microsoft, these huge companies that now are into this deal and that are going to work with Melania you really think they have our best interest in mind? Of course not. Of course not. We would be very naive to think that, right? We would be very naive to think that. So let me look at some more comments here. So Joe said, I never got a good feeling with J.D. Vance. He feels a bit of a Judas character. Exactly. Why is he moved in that position? So close to Trump, and Elon Musk is even saying, is J.D. Vance going to become the new president? Like, are we going to have like a Brutus and Kaiser situation here? Who knows, right? Colette Smith says, congratulations on the new show. Thank you so much. Interesting comment by Katie here. Bundy was also a DA in Florida when Epstein was first arrested and given a plea deal and out. Exactly. I was aware of that. Yeah, it's true. It's a good point. So yeah, so very interesting. So if there's any questions, guys, Mari Zitak says no live questions. Yeah, I'm ready to take live questions if you got some. RD&D sir, what will be the solution? What do we have to do? What can we do? As always, my answer to this is, there's the 3D level to this, and there's like the 5D level to this. The 3D level is to keep speaking out, to keep raising awareness, to never be silenced. And the 5D answer to this is to work on your own vibration, to connect with these higher vibrations, because the elites want to keep us in a lower vibration. The elites want to keep us in a prison of lower vibration, like with the Charlie Kirk shooting. They want to have us in chaos, in emotions, and in fear. So we've got to do the opposite of that, because that's a very powerful force that radiates outwards on the morphogenetic field of the earth, on the aura of the earth. They don't want us in love, so we got to be in love. We got to do the opposite. So that's also very important. Let me see. Okay, so I guess I'm through. So thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, all my channels. So this is going live on YouTube, on X, on Facebook, on Rumble. So don't forget to subscribe on whatever channel you're watching from. And also don't forget to check out my course to help you. I've created this course to help you with your vibration. My 14 days to a higher vibration course here. And you can get 50% off with the code 14day in all caps, and I put it in the comments. So yeah, so one more question I see here. So this is an interesting question. Mari Zalk says, are we not splitting into the new earth? We are making a choice. Yes, I think we are moving into the new earth with the choices we make, with the focus of our consciousness, and basically who we are in our frequency. If you're going to be living in fear and going to be very caught up in the left-right paradigm and all these leftists, if you lower your vibration, you're going to move to a different earth as a soul. And if you choose love, you're going to move to a higher earth. And right now, these two realities are actually coexisting in this 3D earth. And I think there's going to be splitting of souls, of soul paths, in my opinion. And I talk about much more in depth in I talked about much more in depth in like in-person events where I really talk about this in depth. This is one of the main themes I talk about in in-person events, and I'm going to do a show about this later. But it wouldn't take me too far to really go in depth about this. Wolf Mother says, great show, Jens, great for show. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for your support. I'm really happy to see that there were so many of you watching for my first show. Thanks for your support. Thanks for all the comments. So all my love your way, and I'll see you in another episode next week, same time. So it's a little bit early maybe for you Canadians and Americans and other people in other time zones, but it's as I'm in Europe, I got to do it a little bit in the evening for me here. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week on another episode of Freedom Frequency. Thank you. Bye-bye.